I'm a little bit of a pacer, so bear with me. So when I speak, my mantra is two things: truth in history and patience in grief. Truth in history means the whole truth, not just the parts that you want to talk about because it's politically correct. The whole truth. Patience in grief is the harder one. The word patience is very difficult. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, I was a New York City firefighter detailed into the mayor's office of emergency management under Mayor Rudy Giuliani, my friend. So I had traded in my fire helmet for a suit and tie. My job was to represent the mayor at the scene of interagency emergencies, disasters, which were frequent in New York, and to kind of be the conductor for all the agencies and people we needed to mitigate the emergency. And it worked very well. It was very successful. And we were growing. Back then, we were only about 30 people. Now, I think they're approaching 300 people. So my office was the 23rd floor of 7 World Trade Center. So part of the World Trade Center complex. My routine was to go in 8 o'clock in the morning, go to the cafeteria, have my Cheerios, read the newspapers. You guys remember that? Newspapers, yeah, because we didn't have the phones. And read the newspapers and see what had happened the previous day, make sure that I'm up on the news of the day. So that's where I was. I was sitting there by myself reading the newspapers, eating my Cheerios, and the power went out in the building. And this is a modern high-rise building in New York City, so it's very unusual for the power to go out all at once. Uh-oh, something big happened. I wasn't at the window, but the people who were facing the North Tower at the window all at once jumped up and started running and panicking and screaming toward me because the exit was behind me. And I grabbed one young woman by the shoulders and kind of shook her back to reality. And I looked at her, I said, "What happened?" She said, "A plane hit the tower." Oh my God. That's the first I heard of it. Okay, so up to the 23rd floor where our offices were. Now, this plane had just flown over our roof into the North Tower. Up to my office, go to the watch command, which is our listening post, our dispatcher. Mike Lee, say, "Mike, full activation. We're on it, Timmy, we're making all the calls, bring everybody in." I went to the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, Star Wars, right? All the screens and computers where we plan to manage the worst disasters in New York City. My friend Mike Berkowitz, "Mike, full activation. The computers are already coming up. Mike's got it, he's on it. We're getting ready to be inundated by about 150 people to help manage and help get us through all this." My job was to go to the command post in the tower and assist the incident commander. I ran to my desk, I grabbed 3 radios: police radio, fire radio, OEM radio. Went down the elevator, out to my car, put on my helmet, my heavy leather boots, threw my tie in the trunk, put on my mayor's office jacket. And as firefighters, we're trained to look at 3 sides of a building before you go into a building, just to get a size up. And so I went up 1 level from the street level to the plaza level. It was like 1 story up, and that was the plaza that was in between the towers where we had concerts and ate lunch and all that stuff. And I was under an overhang, so I was protected. But my situational awareness was about 0 compared to the rest of the world, because this was my size up of the building. Like that, right? Yeah, it's 80 floors up. Okay. Out in the plaza level, it was strewn with debris that a lot of it was on fire. Remember all the papers fluttering down and things crashing down. That's what it looked like. So I went in at that level, and I had to go down an escalator inside the building, One World Trade Center, the North Tower. And hundreds of people, civilians, were evacuating the building. And so they looked like a funnel going onto the escalator. And I noticed something in that moment. I noticed what they were not doing. They were not pushing, kicking, trampling each other. In fact, it was the opposite. For every person who was obese, pregnant, disabled, or injured, there are 4 or 5 regular office workers, not cops or firemen, regular people helping that person. And I said, you know what? No matter what happens today, we're going to be okay, because that is the human spirit. That is the spirit of Americans, and that is the spirit of New Yorkers. I went down the escalator, and I could see out over the lobby as I was going down, all the firemen in their turnout coats with the yellow stripe, 2 yellow stripes. And the cops called us bumblebees, because when we got together, hundreds of us, it looked like a whole bunch of bumblebees, right? And so that's what it looked like a lobby full of bumblebees. And I got to the bottom of the escalator, and right there in front of me was my friend Chris Blackwell from Rescue 3, the Bronx Harlem Special Operations Company. And so we were some of the most experienced firemen in New York. And I worked with Chris for 5 or 6 years. And not only was Chris this kind of gruff-looking, very experienced New York City firefighter, Bronx firefighter, he was a paramedic in Connecticut on his part-time. So all that guy did was help people his whole life. Whenever we had a person who was badly injured, especially a child, we always looked for Chris's hands to put that person in, because we knew Dr. Blackwell, he would give them the best chance they had at living, because he was that good. So Chris and I had this routine we would go through whenever we saw each other. He would always have an unlit stub of a cigar in his mouth, and I would go over to him, and he would take this unlit stub of cigar out of his mouth. We would kiss on the lips, and then he would put it back in. And you know, all the firemen would go, ooh, and we would just get a great laugh out of it. I love that guy, man. And you know what we said to each other? He said, Timmy, this is really bad. That's between 2 Bronx firemen. When you say that, that's really bad. Timmy, this is really bad. And I said, yeah, I know, Chris, be careful. And you know what Chris did after he said that to me? He went in the stairwell and he went up. I heard someone yell my name, Timmy, across the bumblebees. And I looked over and I could see across the top of everybody my best friend, Terry Hatton, my best friend. Captain of Rescue 1, the Manhattan Special Operations. And he was the captain, he was the man. He was the future of the New York City Fire Department. Because not only was he courageous and brave, but he was really smart. He was also 6'4". And with his helmet and boots on, he was 6'7", 6'8". I ran over to my best friend, and he wrapped his arms around me. He had the Halligan in his hand, the big pry bar, and he squeezed me tight to his chest, and he kissed me on the cheek. And he said, I love you, brother. I may never see you again. And I kind of laughed it off, and I was like, you know, Terry, we've been through so much, and we've gotten out of it. We'll be okay. We had been to the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center. We had been on the rubble digging through the pile in Oklahoma City within 24 hours. We were in Atlanta being undercover because they knew there was going to be a bombing. We had been to horrific fires in New York City together and come out of it alive. Building collapses. But remember, Terry's the smarter one than me. And he was always thinking 5 steps ahead. So after he squeezed me to his chest and kissed me on the cheek and said, "I love you, brother. I may never see you again," what did Terry and his men do? "I love you, brother. I may never see you again." He went in the stairwell and he went up. A fireman came into the lobby yelling, "Another plane hit the South Tower." Oh my God, here we are. We're at war. We're under attack. The leadership huddles up quickly. We decide Chief Donald Burns' fire department and myself will go to the South Tower and open up the command post in the South Tower. So Chief Burns and I are hustling over. Another big guy, like the caricature of an Irish fire chief. 41 years in the New York City Fire Department, seen it all, right? The red cheeks and the ruddy face, and he kind of talked out of the side of his mouth like this. And I said, "Chief, what do you need me to do?" He said, "Timmy, there's not much you and I can do. I've ordered a 5th alarm, another 300 firefighters for the South Tower. But it's going to take them a while to get here because the first 300 are going to the North Tower." He said, "Do your best and be careful." A woman came over as we were hustling into the South Tower, and she said, "There are people trapped in the elevator." Chief Burns gave me the nod, "Go, Timmy." So Chief Burns went to the command post. I went with the woman. We got to the elevator lobby. The one elevator car, the hoistway doors were open, so you could see into the shaft. The elevator car had not come down all the way. So just about 8 inches at the top of the opening, you could see all the people's feet that were in the elevator. And I remember seeing the men's suit jackets and shirt sleeves trying to pull the elevator down enough where they could slide out. And they were screaming and panicking. At that time, I didn't understand that elevator car had free fallen 70 floors. Because the plane snapped the cable. But it operated as it was supposed to operate. I feel like I'm not, sorry. I feel like they're screaming and panicking. Sorry, I lost my, and here I am, Mr. Superhero fireman guy, right? And there's nothing I can do for them. I have nothing to help them. The elevator car the emergency brakes had worked properly. Saved their lives. But they were screaming and panicking because not only had they taken this ride, but the elevator pit below them was full of jet fuel that was on fire. And they were right above it. They were getting burned. Super fireman guy is useless now. I turn around, I tell the people, "Start bringing me as many fire extinguishers as you can. We'll try and knock this fire down." And they did. And of course, you can't knock down a jet fuel fire. And this all happened in 5 or 10 seconds. I turned to my right just to see if I could see something to help. And my shoulder hits a person, and I looked over, and it was a fireman. And I looked up, it was Mike Lynch, my friend from Ladder 4, who I'd worked with for a year. And he put his hand on my shoulder here. And it said, "Timmy, I got it." 3 words, "I got it." To a fireman to fireman, that means a lot. It means he has the training, the experience, the tools and equipment, because he brought a whole fire truck with him, and the intestinal fortitude to save the lives of those people. I later told his widow, Denise, that when Mike put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I got it," he may as well have had angel's wings coming out of his shoulder, because he was the angel that was going to save their lives. Over the radio, we got the 3rd plane is coming, it's confirmed, it's ours, take immediate cover, it's ours, it's incoming. Mike, I gotta go back to the command post. 0 operator, White House. You can't get through? Pentagon then. Pentagon's under attack? New York State Emergency Management. Okay, got through. The fighter jets are coming for you as fast as they can. Thank you. The lobby's filling up with people who are very badly injured. They came down 70, 80 floors, burned, bloody, broken. They made it to the lobby. They mistakenly thought they were safe. The lobby's full. Our evacuation is bogging down. Chief Burns to Timmy, go get the paramedics in here. I run out of Liberty Street. Things are crashing down to the ground. There's a fireman dead right in front of me who got crushed. Mike Lynch is at his fire truck, ladder 4, taking the big heavy hearse tool motor off. And he says, Timmy, come here, give me a hand. So I run toward him. Another guy gets there first. I wave at Mike. It's the last time I see my friend Mike. I find the paramedics on West Street. My friend Charlie Wells, the captain of special operations there. We grab 3 paramedics and myself, the stretcher, and we start running back to go into Tower 2. And we're staying right along the face of the Marriott because we're trying to protect ourselves from being killed. We round the corner. The Marriott is adjoining to the South Tower. We run around the corner. The tower is set back on the sidewalk more, and we're about 20 feet from going in the door of Tower 2 when it collapses. We were outside so we could hear it. It was loud and clear. Boom, 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 boom. Progressive collapse, one floor on top of the other. I yell to the paramedics, follow me. We're trained, you can never outrun a collapse. It occurs too quickly. Get cover. So we run right into the Marriott Hotel. It's the Tall Ships restaurant, and it's as clear as the air is in here. And like that, it goes pitch black. I drop to my knees. Everything that's not nailed down is blowing at us. Tower 2 collapses on the Marriott. The Marriott is collapsing around us. I know I have to get it to a column, strongest part of a building. The only chance I have at surviving is a column, vertical. I crawl. I grab onto the column. Big, big column like this. And I just try to be a part of it. The noise I can only describe as sitting on the tarmac at JFK with 747 surrounding you full blast. You can't breathe. The dust is so thick you can't breathe. It's caked into everything. And I've got my head, my nose, in my shirt trying to breathe. And I'm trying to hold on. My legs are up in the air. It's trying to blow me out in the street. It's later scientifically proven that that space we survived in, the wind was 185 miles an hour, trying to push us out. I know if I get pushed out, I'm dead. The only chance I have is to hold on to this column. My helmet blows off, my legs are up in the air, and I just think, how unfair is it that I can't hold my family one more time? And then it stopped. The wind stopped, the noise stopped, and I was alive. About 35 of us lived there in that space. Some of the very few who were in the collapse, who survived the collapse. Nearly 2,977 innocent human beings were murdered by radical Islamic terrorists on September 11th, 2001. Nearly 1,100 of those families never, to this day, never got anything back, not a piece of hair, not a fingernail, not any DNA to indicate that their loved one was actually there. One third, right? 658 people, innocent human beings, were from one firm, Cantor Fitzgerald. One firm, 658 people. Most of the video you see of people falling, jumping, or being pushed out of the upper portion of the building, those are Cantor Fitzgerald employees who had no choice. 343 New York City firefighters, 37 Port Authority police officers, 23 NYPD police officers, 8 EMT paramedics. Who did what? They went up. They went in and they went up, knowing they probably weren't coming back. American heroes murdered by radical Islamic terrorists. Out of the 343 New York City firefighters, 93 of them were my friends from Special Operations, guys I had worked with over the years, including my 2 best friends, Captain Terry Hatton and Captain Patrick Brown, both legends. So I lost my whole male friendship life in one day. And this is where I get to patience and grief. And that God works in the way He wants to work, not in the way I want Him to work. And I was lost and lonely for a long time. And I'm grateful that I'm not someone who would consider suicide ever. But my family was very concerned about that. And I remember going to fireman functions, and the guys, the generation older with me would all be over there, and the generation younger than me would all be over there. And then it would be just me and one other guy, because all my generation was gone. And it took me, it probably took me about 15 years to rebuild my life to where I thought it was close to what it used to be. But it does come. And I feel so lucky and blessed today to be alive, to be speaking with you, to being loved by Laura, to having new, amazing men in my life. We started, Rick, myself, and some other great Americans started Eagle Rise Speakers Bureau, where we have all these people with these incredible stories of survival. And these men are now my friends who've been through things similar to me, but they love life. They love their future. They want to use what happened to them, and I want to use what happened to me to talk about the truth of what happened on September 11th and who did it. And to bring people, to show people, be an example to people who are considering ending it. Don't do that. I have this incredibly beautiful, loving life now. And I'm so glad I never went down that other path. So when you need strength, look to me. Remember what I went through and that I'm still here, and how happy and loving and being loved I feel. So what we're doing here, Leslie, I don't know where you went. There you are. But this is amazing stuff. And the fact that you guys are out here supporting it very early is fantastic. And if you guys, if anyone out there is struggling and having difficulty, find me through Leslie and let's talk. So I love you guys. We went a little long, but I love you guys. Never forget the heroes, my friends, and those that are walking among us that need our love and support. Thank you.